So in the last video, we talked about the ripple delay by Process Audio, and at the end of the video, I teased a bit what you can do inside of Bitwig Studio. And today I want to show you, a more fleshed out idea about this, how you create these kind of feedback loops inside of the grid. I made some videos about this in the past, but I think because I just talked about it in the last video, I want to refreshen this idea and give you some ideas. So first up, we want to use here a noise source and of course a very short envelope, right? So we want to create a noise burst. So that's the initial setup here. Maybe we want to use a stereo white noise, and then we go straight into a long delay. In this long delay, we use here milliseconds as a delay unit. After that, we want to use a gain knob, so we can change the loudness of the signal. And we use a blend in front of the long delay. So now we can blend the initial sound burst here with the feedback or with the output of the long delay. So this is here now a small feedback setup, right? And then of course we need to use here an output, audio output, so we can hear actually what's happening. So then in the FX we use a peak limiter, always use a peak limiter so you don't blow your ears out, right? It gets unstable pretty fast. Let's dial this down here by -4 dB. Okay. And then we use here, this is armed, so we can use our MIDI keyboard and we can trigger then here this noise burst going into this long delay. Right? So maybe increase here the loudness a bit more slowly. And then you try to find a sweet spot before the feedback goes too crazy and louder and you know, amplifies itself too much. And also, so it's not too quiet, so it dies down pretty fast, right? So this is too quiet here. And this is too much. And this sweet spot here is very hard to find. It's just a few millidecibel, right? And if you find a sweet spot, it feels really good. But then if you make some changes here and there, you change also the loudness. So you have a constant battle with the loudness here. So my idea yesterday was to implement actually an auto gain or auto level, a small auto level in here to make sure we always have the right volume or gain for the feedback loop to not break down and to not to amplify itself too much. So we do this here by just using a follower, something like this, and we analyze the output here of the long delay, go into the follower, rise goes down, fall goes up, maybe we use RMS. Then I use a bias here, so we can influence the output of the follower a bit more. And we use a division or divide module, right? And this is also something here that goes in there, and then we use this here for the division, right? So this is how it looks like. This is here the auto gain. Maybe I give this a different color. Maybe also here a label. Auto gain, right? So it's still the same feedback loop, but instead of having this gain knob here, we have now this auto gain in between. That's the idea. Looks a bit weird, but that's how it is. Okay, so now we can try this out here. Or maybe I have to put this down. So now we have the stable loop and we can play around here with the delay times. And you can see the delay time decides what kind of pitch we have, because it decides of the, it changes the wavelength of the signal. And the wavelength of the signal then, you know, changes the pitch. But here we have inside of the audio settings audio, block size, you can see I have an sample rate or the block size is actually 5.33 milliseconds long. You can make this shorter or longer. You probably have it much bigger, I guess. I use here a pretty short one, 5.33, because of the thing we want to do, and that's the feedback idea here. But you can hear that the pitch actually doesn't change below 5 milliseconds. Only when we go above 5 milliseconds, the pitch changes, because that's the smallest delay time we have inside of the grid. So the smallest delay time is what you dial in the audio settings for the sample size or for the sample buffer. Okay, so let's try it out. Right, so with 5 milliseconds, then we stay on this pitch. Until it becomes a delay. So the feedback works, and now comes the interesting part, because we can use now effects inside of this loop, inside of the grid. So let's put this actually here so we can add some effects here. So let's start here with the phaser. Mix down, maybe use it in a stereo mode here, and then we just maybe, how do I do this? I'll put this here, and then I go there, right? And then also in there. Yeah, let's use it this way. Or maybe I use here a gain knob. Maybe that's better this way. Okay, so now we have here a phaser inside of this feedback loop, and we can use this to alter the sound. What I like to do is to go with the speed down, because it modulates here the phaser too fast when it's up here. So let's see how this sounds. Pull this up. So the phaser changes constantly here the feedback in an interesting way. And because we have this auto gain here, the auto gain changes the volume and it keeps the feedback going, which makes it very interesting for sound effects or exploring sound worlds. And we always get some kind of dissonant sound from this here. And the more you throw in and the more you tweak the sound here, the better it gets. So something that's also nice is to throw in here a low pass and a high pass. Because usually these kind of feedback loops tend to build up in the low end much faster than in the high end. High pass and low pass. And with this setting here, or these two filters, we can choose or remove this, right? We can remove the low end from the feedback building up over time. So this sounds like this. And by the way, bringing down this fall parameter here makes the auto gain react faster to volume changes, right? That's why I'm fiddling around here with the fall time. So these filters remove here the low end, or the high pass remove the low end from the feedback building up in the low end. So you get more like screechy sounds. And if you pull down high pass and cut off here the top frequencies or the high frequencies, you get more like a low end and bassy sound. Yeah, you'll figure this out if you play around with this. And this is cool, but you can then also use here post-FX, so after the feedback loop, right? So we bring in here a supermassive for nice reverb. And when you think it's too dissonant, you can also throw in some pitch correction plugins here. So let's say I use Chroma. You can use anything, really. So I dial in here my favorite scale. So it's not that dissonant anymore, right? That's the idea. Also interesting using shapers. So let's say I use here Chebyshev minus TC and throw this in there. Maybe before the filter, maybe after the filter, maybe in front of the phaser. So that's then the experimentation, right? Where do you put the effects and what kind of effect influences the other effects in the feedback, and it all gives you a different sound. So that's the interesting part. Or maybe here. Maybe without chroma. Maybe we use the chorus here after everything. Or maybe we use a very small delay time here for the post-FX. And use chroma after the Valhalla. Right, so many ideas. Maybe a wave folder. That's a bit too crazy, but you get the idea, right? And it's so fun because we have this auto gain in place here, and it really tries to make the sound stable, and it kind of works. And you can experiment with this and then just use another audio track here, maybe let's say output polygrid Boost FX, hit record, and just save everything. Launch quantization off, don't need it. Pre-roll, I don't need it. Right, and then you or if you don't want to use the Bitwig clip launcher, you can also use here, what's the name? The rolling sampler. This one here, right? Record everything into this. And sometimes you don't need to use that many effects in this feedback loop. As you can see here, we have only a few, and you get so much variety and so different, so many different movements in all kinds of directions, right? So more is less, and maybe exchange some of these devices here for other devices. Filters that we have also here, something like, what's the name? Ripple delay here. Or fizz, the fizz filter. At the end, let's try this one. Also nice, let's say, all pass delay. So pretty crazy sounds. So what I do now is I put you this into the description down below so you can download it. I already also made here a different plugin. Let me just remove this here for a moment. Feedback. What's the name? You can find Feedback System A. Yeah. That's basically also your setup. I also disabled here some of the devices. You can enable them and then play around with it and have some fun. Just record some stuff and put it in the sampler and yeah, just explore some sound worlds with this. So just remember, go into the audio settings here, try to pull this down to the lowest possible block size for you that works for you. Here 5 milliseconds is perfectly fine to get some interesting pitches or some high pitches. The longer or the higher the block size is, then yeah, you lower in pitch you have to go with delay time, right? So 5 milliseconds is perfectly fine. 10 milliseconds also works. Yeah. That's it. I put you this in the description below so you can download it. Let me know what you think. Leave a like, leave a subscription, and have some fun. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching and bye. That's enough.